Thanks so much for the opportunity to be with you. I think that Pierre and I are a somewhat unusual presence. I am a researcher on climate and disasters that became a humanitarian worker, and Pierre is a chef from Senegal. We're not used to talking to representatives from large companies, but we're delighted to be here. Thanks for turning on the lights, because this is going to be a session that hopefully will be a little bit unusual in that it will invite you to show to yourself and to your neighbors in your table whether or not you're really willing to be bold. So there are little bowls going around. Some tables, maybe not all of them, will get them. You don't need to look into them now. You don't need to eat those things now. But in short, if we can move on to the next slide, or give me a clicker thing. This one, excellent. There we go. I am testing technology, excellent. There you go. That thing you see on screen is the beautiful photo of the day when my dear sister Maria, in Argentina, where I am from, received her pet cow, Florencia. That day, Florencia was about 80 pounds. The cow is now about 1,700 pounds. And she's still the pet. It's a very playful relationship. I'm sure you cannot read the text, but one day I asked my sister when preparing for this session, so what will happen when Florencia is no longer alive? You may know that my country, Argentina, is a deeply carnivore culture. Literally right now, despite having had a wonderful lunch and being completely satisfied, I had the thought of beef and sizzling steak, and I am literally salivating. Okay? So we think of cows as the thing that we enjoy eating, but this is a pet. And when I asked, she sent me this email where she said, actually, that's a tough question I'm grappling. I think that the proper way to honor Florencia after the end of her life would be to eat her. But I don't think I can do that. So maybe it will be to have my friends who don't have this emotional relationship to her, because that's what we do. But I don't know. You know, and it started posing all these questions. What do we do with what we do? I will be moving around a lot after Pierre has set up. So camera folks, beware. You may have to chase me as I walk around. So in Argentina, when I was growing up, seafood was like insects. Why would anyone want to eat a shrimp? It looks like a bug. Now, last time I was in La Plata, in my hometown, there are 20 sushi restaurants. I have no idea what's going on, but things are changing. Just so that you know, if you have seafood allergies, the same allergen that can cause you itch and other things is going to be on the things you're going to try. So if you know you have an allergy, stay away from eating. Everyone else, this is very safe. Good. So when I learned about Pierre, I was very impressed by this proverb from his country that was in his website: an empty belly has no ears. My job is to communicate science, innovation, possibilities to humanitarian workers in developing countries and to the people they serve. And when people are hungry, either because they didn't have lunch yet in the workshop or because they live in a place where there's no food, they just cannot listen. So how can we expand what is audible? You may notice that he's preparing some food while we move on. And this session, by the way, was prepared by the two of us, plus an editor from The Economist, Oliver Morton, to whom we are grateful he couldn't be with us here. We're going to be playing a game. There will be winners and losers. You will answer through the survey tool that will be introduced to you. I'm sure you've already experienced it. There will be an individual winner recognized in our website later, and there's also going to be a game at the table level. So you will have to come up with one answer, and if your answer is better than their answers and everybody else, you're the winner. And the answer will be a number. I will pose you 4 questions. There is a correct answer, which is a number. Whoops. Can we go back to the slide, please, for a moment? Thank you. So you will be writing certain answers. If your answer is smaller than or equal to the correct answer, you get 1 point. If your answer is too big and you fall off the cliff of truth, you get 0 points. Now, if your answer is closest to the real answer compared to others, you get 10 additional points. Okay? So if you ask how many states in the United States, if you answer 53, you get 0 points. If you answer 3, you get 1 point. Those who write 50 get an additional 10 points. Are the rules clear? Okay. Now look around your table, become familiar with those faces, because you want those people to listen to you when you explain why your number is better than theirs. Because at each table, one person will have to write the answer that is the collective table answer, and will have to stand up and represent that table as we move on. So the rules are going to be on the screen. You individually, secretly answer the question with a number. And your answer will be sent via survey. The team will show that detail on how to log on. Your table will agree to a team member that speaks on behalf of everyone and has that number for the team. You may have to negotiate. Is it 50 or 53 or 3? I'm sure there will be some disagreements. 0 if your answer is higher than the official answer from the UN Food and Agriculture Organization. 1 otherwise, and you get 10 more if you're closer than everybody else. I will facilitate to see who is the winning table for each question. If you don't understand the rules, your brain is not working well, live with it. Your fellow table members will help. Now, 2 very important points. If time allows, we will acknowledge the winners now. Not allowed to Google. Obvious, but I think I should write it since there are written questions. So when you write your answer on the phone, don't peek into the FAO. And you will submit the answer via survey. Folks, over there, if you want to show, if you have it, how they actually post the questions. Or you have been doing it already, right? You have the survey app or something like that? Good. There you go. Open the conference website, select polls, and there will be some questions. Don't answer the question until I pose it on the screen. If you do, you will be at a disadvantage. All right, moving on. We're going to move on to question 1. Can we go back to the slide, please? Not yet. You wait until I ask each question, then you answer at the deadline. I will give you a deadline. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop. And then either you submit it or not. All right, first question. Meat consumption in this planet on average. United States, Canada, Guatemala, Burkina Faso, Japan, everyone in this planet. How many pounds of meat per person per year on average? How many exact pounds? You have 20 seconds to write your individual answer. After you send it, talk to your team for your table answer. 1 person from each table, stand up, please. 1 person from each table, stand up by the end of the countdown. Stand up, 3. 1 person per table, stand up. 2. 1 person per table, stand up. 1. 1 person per table, stand up. Now, and can I have your silence, please? Shh. Thank you. In case you didn't hear me, you need to have a person from each table standing up representing that group, okay? You have to have written your answer or have it solidly in your head. You cannot change it after I show the real answer. The real answer is, and if your answer is bigger, you get 0 and the table sits down, 92.4 pounds. I see some people sitting down. Okay, shh, let me pause. If your answer was 50 to 92.4, please wave your hands. All right, everybody else sit down. If your answer was 80 to 92.4, wave your hands. We have a few there. 80, oh, there's only 1 person standing? 2? Okay, what's your answer? And yours? Anybody closer? 85. We have the winning table. You got 10 points. Everybody else who was less than 92.4, you got 1 point. All the other tables got 0. Let me show you one slide that shows disaggregated per country. If you know where Argentina is, you can see that it's a very dark country. We eat a lot of beef despite not being very wealthy. Now, as a human, I love the fact that you want to converse, and I will give you plenty of chance to converse again. But if I could have your attention for a moment, one thing that matters to me now, because this is where I am an odd fish in these waters of BSR, I am a humanitarian worker, so I have to think what happens to my colleagues who work with food security, health, water, nutrition, HIV/AIDS, and all sorts of things that are related to how we produce and consume food, gender dimensions, and so on. Imagine if all countries tried to emulate the US and start eating more than 200 pounds of beef per person per year. I don't know much about those consequences, but it's one reason why I bring it here. What are the humanitarian implications of the choices going on out there that you shape? You shape by what goes on the table at the BSR event. You shape when you feed your colleagues in the cafeteria of your companies, or when you put up advertisements, right? So this is why I'm here, and I look forward to this conversation. Second question. Think about what you're going to submit individually. And by the way, the individual answer has to be secret. You cannot consult with your neighbor before you send it. So complete silence until you send it, then you can start talking. The question is input to output. You guys in business are good at being efficient, right? To raise 1 pound of beef, evidence shows that we use on average 10 pounds of food for the cow. The question for you is, globally, on average, how many pounds of water are used to deliver 1 pound of beef? Send your answer secretly and silently, then start talking with your table. You have about 3 minutes to deliver your table answer, or less. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Can someone from each table stand up? And if your table didn't agree already, you have to choose one number. Who stands up on each table? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop. Your silence, please. Thank you. Sorry, I am becoming a little bit of a school teacher, requesting your action and then silence. Okay, we have one representative per table. If your answer is bigger than the correct answer, you sit down. The correct answer of how much water is used to produce a pound of beef, this is not only the water that the cow drinks, but also the water used to produce food for the cow, of course. How much is used, not how much is drunk. The answer is... So let's see, anybody who wrote bigger than that, sit down. If your answer was 50 or more, wave your hands. Otherwise, sit down. 100 or more, wave your hands. 1,000 or more, wave your hands. 5,000 or more, wave your hands. What's your answer? 22,000. Someone knew something. So someone knew the answer and comes from the metric system but knows how much to multiply. Congratulations, your table is the winner. Excellent. If I may show this other thing, this is a photo from the New Yorker magazine. It's a delicacy to eat a cricket as part of your dessert. Turns out that to grow 1 pound of house crickets that are edible, nutritious, healthy unless you have a shrimp allergy, you need only 1.7 pounds of feed for the bug and about 1 pound of water. So if we care about efficiency, well, bugs could be a good idea, but who wants to eat bugs, right? Well, turns out that my team would like more people to consider alternative sources of nutrition because of the following question. You have heard of climate change. what we do changes atmospheric chemistry, and there's greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane and other things. There is a metric of greenhouse gas that is tons of all these gases, but if they were all CO2, to diversify. I know this is tough, but imagine, a car spews carbon, and our breathing spews carbon, and the energy plant spews carbon, and in 1 year, the amount of climate-changing gases that we put out there is some quantity that can be measured in tons. Can you imagine a ton of something? That's a heavy amount. How many tons per year? Send your individual answer and your table answer. You have 2 minutes or less. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and your silence, please. Shh. 1 person per table, please stand up. I hope you have some number of tons in your head. You have 5 seconds to choose who stands up. 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. If your answer is bigger than this number, you sit down. So, I used to be a researcher, but I still find the number 7.1 billion inconceivable. Yeah, that's a lot of subject matter, particulate things going up in the upper atmosphere, in the lower atmosphere. That's a lot, 7.1 billion. Turns out that livestock contributes as much climate-changing greenhouse gases as the entire transportation sector in the entire planet. Cars, ships, airplanes, motorbikes. Yeah, that's a lot, 14%. So I'll get to your answers and see who got closest soon. That's an illustration of per type of protein maker, how much of these greenhouse gases is produced. First of all, big distinction between warm-blooded and cold-blooded animals. To keep a body warm, it creates things that turn out create more greenhouse gases. Cows in particular are very good at producing methane. What comes in must go out. Some of it comes out in gas form, changes the climate a lot. So compared to crickets and mealworms, which are awesome for the climate, beef is not so good. Who answered 1 million or more? Wave your hands. Who answered 500 million or more? Wave your hands. Who answered 10 billion or more? Sorry, not 10. How many billion? 500 million. Over here? 1 billion with a B. Anyone closer than 1 billion? 5 billion? Anybody beat 5 billion? How much? 5.8? Okay, anyone better than them? Oh, you got a 7, and you didn't Google the answer. Oh, she had done research on this, so of course she knew the answer. Thanks for knowing. Good. Before, I understand. Some people are researching these things because they matter for the planet. We have the winning table for the third question. And the last question. In this planet, some people eat crickets as a deliberate part of their diet. Not an accidental worm that was in your apple and you ate it, not knowing. Or all the creatures that go into your flower and you don't know you're eating them. How many people in this planet regularly and knowingly, it can be once a month. Yeah, in Uganda they eat grasshoppers, which are a seasonal delicacy. How many people in this planet regularly eat insects as part of their diet? Answer. First secretly, submit your individual answer, then collectively. You have 2 minutes or less. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Someone from each table, please stand up to deliver the collective answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and silence, please. Someone from each table, please stand up. And people are still talking. I love the fact that there's all this curiosity. One of the reasons why we do this is I could be giving you answers, but I'd rather have you wonder and sizzle with the question. So those of you who are standing have a table answer. If your answer is bigger than this number, you sit down. This is the number of people that normally eat bugs. So your happiness, how many did your team say? 2 billion. Anyone who said 2 billion? Good. Someone knew the answer or had a great hunch, you all get 10 points. Otherwise, you got 10 or 0. Congratulations. Let me show you another map. These are the darker a country. Shh, thank you. The darker a country, the more species of creatures that we call insects or bugs, you know, mealworms and spiders, all these things that are not exactly insects but look like them. How many are eaten? Mexico has a lot, UK has 0, and France has 1. Our colleague Oliver is British and was saying, what is this business? How could we be inferior to the French? Yeah? Now, from my perspective, I saw in my hometown a carnivore, beef-loving city, the evolution from shrimp or bugs and we don't eat them to nothing more cool than having sushi on a Saturday evening with your friends. Some things can change. And I'm happy to share now the stage with Pierre, who will share with you a little bit about what he's doing and how he came to do this. Pierre, over to you.
Well, today what I'm doing is I'm serving fritters, sweet potato fritters. It's a completely different recipe. That's not a traditional recipe that I've experienced in other parts of the world. The first time I've had insects was in Zimbabwe, and that was tree worms that I was having. And I really didn't like that experience. It was, first it was a cultural thing, you know, you get used to it. And the second time, though, I went to Congo. And in Congo, I had it a completely different experience. It was just the same tree worms, but served like with a fritter style. And today, I'm just serving it, my own experience, a fritter sweet potato with scallions. And I'm going to use mealworms and crickets. And just to encourage you to just use it with any recipes. Actually, these insects could be just very versatile. You could use it in fritters, you can use it in a stew, it can replace any meat. Today, I'm just going to add the sweet potatoes, the scallions, some flour, some rice flour to make it a little crispy. I'll use some fish sauce to add some umami flavor to it. And then the insects. So I have the batter already mixed up already here. And all I need is to just heat up some oil and then start frying my fritters in a little bit of vegetable oil. And mix it up. You can taste the batter first. Make sure the seasoning is right. And for the sauce, I'm still going to keep saving the planet and recycling instead of wasting away some sweet potato leaves, because we use sweet potatoes, and the leaves, we throw them away. What I'll do today, I'll make a sauce with the sweet potato leaves. I'll make a pesto with it. Sweet potato leaves and some peanuts, and some olive oil, garlic, and lime juice. And we have a meal right here. Make sure your oil is hot enough. You can hear the sizzle. That means the oil is ready. And you fry it for a couple minutes on each side. And I'm going to need some bold volunteers to come and taste it, because we have some ready. I have about 20 tastings here. These are my sweet potato leaves that's been chopped up already.
So this is about being bold. If you think you're bold and you haven't eaten insect before, Johnny, you cannot come. You already tried them. Come over. Let's see who is bold enough to try.
There's 2 billion people tried it already. Okay, so here, you pass it on. One each.
For those of you who may not come here, there should be little bowls on your table with mealworms and crickets. So you can dip in. They're very tasty, very healthy.
You can pass it on, yeah.
Gracias. Sí.
So,
a ver si la encuentro. Muy bien.
And you can also feel free to top it with the worms. Oops.
Mealworms, yes.
And more bugs on it, yes.
Little sprinkles.
Little sprinkles, so garnish.
I'll have the sprinkle one.
Yeah, I'll sprinkle it on yours. Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you mind if I?
No.
Allow me. You guys are close to him. I'm going to roam around.
Is this different than that, or this is what you?
This is just the finished
Are
product.
you bold enough?
The one you have in your hand is just what? Well, there's no pesto on this one, so you can.
Wonderful. The worm is great.
Isn't it?
Pardon me.
They're great.
It's the first time having it, right?
Where can you buy them?
Well, right now you can buy them online.
Any takers?
There's some farmers now doing them. I've noticed some in California, in Texas, in France as well. Unless you go to
I'll stop here so I can take it over there.
Oh,
Ask him half if you
well.
want. Go over there. I want to tempt those guys. Let's see. Let's see. What about here?
This is mainly.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
This is the only part that's the insect.
No, there's inside too.
Inside
You can see the
Inside you have
mealworm right there,
the crickets.
as well as in the batter.
You have the crickets inside and you have the insects on top. Yeah. So,
Thank you. That's
oh, you liked it?
Yeah.
Sure.
I've had deep fried grasshoppers in Mexico.
Oh, really? Okay. Yes.
Cavalitas.
Oh, they were great. Oh.
Do you know the museum in
All right. So while this keeps going on, could we go back to the PowerPoint, please?
I don't know it.
We have very few minutes left. Congratulations to all of you for at least engaging. Someone is still eating the thing. Her face is full of facial expressions, but she tried something. Now, why are we proposing this session? In my work, I have to invite humanitarian workers to be bold, to try new things, to learn science, to reach out to people in new ways. I have to talk to business, to government, to donors, to UN agencies, to try to step out of their comfort zone, which is exactly what many of you have done, and you can still do it if you find a little cup with edible creatures that have less of a brain than most other creatures we eat. These are two of the companies we have partnered in the past. One of them has ISO certification. The other one is super cool and hip. There's crackers where you can't even tell that there's insect there, 10% protein flour, chocolate-covered insects, gourmet chocolate, flavored. One of them is a grasshopper this big with big eyes. It takes some courage to try, but again, those eyeballs are smaller than most of the eyeballs of the other creatures we eat. And now, as we have about 2 minutes left, I want each of you to go back to the survey and into your mind and your soul and reflect on the two questions in the bottom of the slide. Are you and your business willing to be bold? I expect you to answer yes. Come on, you showed up to this event, right? The second one is the one I'm more interested in. Pierre and Oliver and I, and many in the world are very interested because you guys, through your job, through your influence in the private sector, can make such a difference. I have, with my colleagues, a project called Partners for Resilience. Countries in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and those communities that can suffer droughts and floods and lack of food and so on, I'm sure they can be more impacted by the choices that happen in the hallways here today than by anything I can do in the coming 4 years of my traveling around the world. So how can you and your business rethink food, water, and climate? Is there anything that you can think of, whether it's replicating this session, offering more choice in your cafeteria, changing your business practices, or demanding something from lawmakers, I don't know. Write something in that last question of the survey, and when you've done so, I'm going to invite a few tables to share one thought that has to be an original thought. It cannot be something that you were thinking from before Pierre started cooking. So go, you have 1 minute to think, 1 minute to converse, and then I'll call on a few tables. Write that answer in the survey, please.
Thank you so
Sure.
much. I'm not going to hear him split it at my table. I'm going to share it.
Okay, perfect. Can't believe how popular they are.
I would love one, but I've tried them and they haven't, so let's be kinder. Although one thing I'd love to do you have, yes. Think of it as potato chips. Okay? You don't have to. That one looks less intimidating. The moment of courage. Let me step out. I'd like that camera to capture your facial expression. May I? So let's give you a try. What did it feel like?
Like rice puffs. Yeah.
Someone just said eating insect felt like eating rice puffs, which is completely within your comfort zone. How about you?
Agreed. Just like rice.
I'm also Argentinian, so this is new for me. But it's good. I invite you to try it.
It's like a nuttier rice.
Did you try it?
Just like rice puffs. It's good.
Right, nuttier. And indeed, the nut is because there's proteins, like in nuts or in beef, that are good for you and are tasty. Excuse me, guys, for holding this thing. Let me see if I can. I know it doesn't look very elegant, but elegance is not my forte. There. All right. So, some of you should have answered.
You had the worms inside.
Is this good enough? Yes. Can I see one person from each table standing up with something potentially interesting to share? Let's do this. Everyone has to nominate someone from each table to stand up. One person per table stand up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And good. We have at least 3, 4, 5 people. Do we have microphones roaming?
Oh, this one tastes.
Otherwise, I can go to you guys with this. All right, I can go. Let's go over here.
You want me to answer
Yes.
the second one? So yes, we're all going to be bold. How can we rethink water, food, and climate? I mean, part of this was quantification, and that's a really revealing process. I think that's the first step in, can you hear me? That's the first step in this, is rethinking what we know and what we need to learn about the metrics.
And speaking of metrics, our next adventure, which will be deployed at the UN Climate Conference in Marrakesh next week, is data cuisine. Think of a pie chart. A pie chart is a graph that represents proportion. I'm going to take some of that pesto, it's a zero-waste pesto, and I'm going to have colleagues in Marrakesh make crostini that look like a pie chart. 40% of the area is his pesto to represent 40% of food going to waste in the US. So if you're interested in depicting quantitative data in an edible form, we're working on that and we can help you do that. I see more people standing, but I run out of time. I don't want to take time from the next ones. We, Pierre and I, are extremely grateful for your being bold. Thank you so much.